Hi class, I'm coming to you from sunny Florida. As you can see, it's super sunny today. Just kidding, it's raining, which we need. However, we were just enjoying some of the sun earlier this morning and now it's gone for a couple days. So, this is me in real life in my downtime. As I was thinking about this week, I wanted to give you guys some highlights, some bloopers, some insight into where we're going in behavior addictions. So, we are talking about week 3. And week 3, we're talking about gender differences, we're talking about cultural differences, and we're talking about codependency. And again, this might seem unrelated, but in addictions, there's so much that I want to give you guys, that I want you guys to be exposed to all the different elements that could exist in behavior addictions. So the first thing I want to talk about is gender differences. Gender differences is huge, especially in our society where everyone wants to kind of blend gender identity and all of those things. We still see in research a distinguishing difference between men and women when it comes to behavior addictions. Typically, with men, we see more aggressive behavior. So, in an addiction that involves self harm, such as cutting, we also might see more aggressive movement in a male as opposed to a female. Which is important in treatment because it means that a male might be in more danger when they are self-harming than a female would be. So assessing the risk in them is going to be really important, really key, something that we need to pay attention to when we're talking about different genders. Other things to notice with gender differences would be eating disorders. Some of our women are more prone to those eating disorders. Again, it doesn't mean that women are never aggressive or that men never struggle with eating disorders. It just means that as we research, there's certain things that the sexes are going to be drawn to or polarized to. And it's good as clinicians for us to know that, understand that, and then proceed as we are treating them. The video I have this week for you is a Spanish video. So those of you who have tried to look at it, don't be stressed out. Don't feel like you have to learn another language. I just want to give you diversified content. I want to give you articles, but I want to give you videos. This lady, she's excellent. She's done a lot of research. She is really good in her presentation, but she speaks Spanish. So what I want you to do is I want you to put it on pause. Or mute, I should say, and I want you to go through her PowerPoint. That's really the content I want you to have access to. That was the easiest way for me to get access for you. So again, spend some time looking at that. I think it'll be a really good tool for you to take notes as you need to. The second thing that we're going to talk about this week is we're going to be talking about cultural differences. Cultural differences are sensitive. We can't study every culture there is, but knowing and increasing our awareness of cultural differences is going to be huge. So some of the things that we know about cultural differences and addictions include that we know that Indians, Native Americans, and Native Canadians really didn't have problems with addictions before Europeans introduced alcohol into their system and made them oppressive. And if you've spent any time listening to Gabor, he likes to distinguish between, is it really the substance that's the problem or is it the cultural circumstances? The stress of losing your homeland, losing your safety, having those kinds of enemies in your life. And so, as we're kind of distinguishing, is it the environment that's going on or is it the action that's going on? I want you to look into this in regards to behavior addictions. So, Indians, Asian Indians, they don't really see an increase. They're starting to see an increase in eating disorders, something that has largely not existed in their population forever. In fact, it's a new phenomenon in America over the last 100 years. So, why is it that eating disorders are all of a sudden developing in this culture? And then, why are they developing in a culture that's completely different? And then, why do they not exist in other cultures altogether? So, again, there are some interesting things to distinguish when we're talking about eating disorders or behavior addictions and cultures. Another example of that would be internet addiction, gambling addiction, video game addiction. These are not addictions that exist in every single culture. So if we don't have addictions that exist in every single culture, are they diagnosable or are they culture specific? So please take a look at that. That's going to be some interesting content for you. Again, we're just getting our fingers touching the surface of these things. There's going to be more to come as you get into this content. The last area that we're going to be talking about this week is codependency. It's kind of one of those topics that I wish I had like a whole course to talk about, but we don't have that kind of time. But what you do need to know is that if we're going to talk about addiction, we need to talk about codependency. They go hand in hand. So codependency is when you're basically meshed with somebody that's struggling with an addiction. So if you have somebody over here that's struggling with an addiction, just think about anybody that can exist around them. So that could be a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be a spouse, it could be a brother or sister. It could be any of those kinds of relationships, aunts, uncles, peer, whatever relationship you want to appoint to it. If they're in their circle and they're close to them, and their behavior starts to be impacted by that addiction, then we call that codependency. So in our support group ministry, what we see is that for every addiction group that we have, we need to have an equal codependency group. That's people in their lives that need help kind of pulling apart their actions, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. That's kind of where we're starting to dip our toes into things like feeling emotions, that are addictive related, so love addiction, the feeling of being needed can be addiction, relationship addiction. All of those things kind of get twined up in with a bow in codependency. So dip your toes in that, explore that, understand it. It's going to be really important for us to understand it if we're going to help people, because a lot of times with addiction, what we see is a lot of enablement. Especially if we're looking at behavior addictions in young teenagers and we have parents that are involved and either they're taking actions or they're not taking actions. A lot of that has to do with codependency. It has a lot of other things that is related to it. So again, I want to get your appetites going with a little bit of talking about codependency this week. Some other things I want to bring up is your Sexaholics Anonymous book. I hope you're enjoying it. I really just kind of want to blow off some of the stereotypes when it comes to sexual addiction throughout this course. Typically in the church realm, there's a lot of negativity, a lot of judgment associated with sexual addiction, and not a lot of compassion, and not a lot of ways to help people. When the reality of it is a large majority of people in churches struggle with it to some extent. There's a lot of different marriages and relationships, teenagers that are impacted by sexual addiction, and so it's important for us to understand it without judgment and without just the black and white standard of right and wrong, because that's not cut and dry. But as you're going through that material, just like you have Alcoholics Anonymous, you have Celebrate Recovery, you have NA, and you have some of these other STEP programs, I want you to think of Sexaholics Anonymous as what are the key elements here that are helpful for somebody else? What are the things that are going to be necessary for you to comprehend and understand that's going to be beneficial for helping somebody else with a behavior addiction? So keep that in mind when you're reading. Some class stuff that's coming up that I want you to pay attention to is your philosophy summaries. So I believe the undergrad class has kind of started already in on that. Grad school, you've got a big paper coming. The things that I'm looking for specifically are that you're identifying each of the learning objectives each week and having a statement or two related to that in regards to your philosophy of addictions treatment. Each of these learning objectives are there on purpose for a reason for you to gain benefit, understanding, and clarity in regards to building your philosophy. The other thing I'm looking for is that you are adding your works cited. Don't give me the Bible without adding a works cited. This is just good college graduate level work that we're including a works cited in our assignments. The other thing coming up for the grad school students is your clinical competency. Not an assignment that you can just do last minute, so plan ahead. We're a couple weeks out from that due date. There's a couple different options there for you. I do not want to see your real life clients. I want to see somebody pretending or acting in that role. So that might take some time to find the right person to be able to do that, because if they're unable to do that successfully for you, that can mess up your ability to demonstrate clinical skills and to complete the assignment. So most of the assignment there has 3 different options, and it describes what should be going on in that person and what they should be presenting you with. And your job is to kind of walk them through the different stages of that. So make sure you plan ahead for your technology so that your technology is being used the correct way, that you have a place to upload your video, and that you have a way to connect it to the Schoology account. All of those things are preparing for your assignment. So this is your week 3 video in real life. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel to reach out to me. Again, I want to see you guys succeed, so if there is any work that you have fallen behind on, please reach out to me. If there are any concerns around your grades or assignments, please reach out to me. If you are having trouble communicating with me and you're just not understanding things, give me a phone call. Give me a time that would be good for you, and I'll Skype you in, and we'll kind of sort it out. I'm here to help you. I'm here to make you succeed in this class. So keep up the good work. I know it's a lot of work, and you just have a few more weeks to go. So have a good one.